Okay, hi everybody, it's Sam. Um, I'm going to start reading chapter 25, and give me a minute. And I'm going to try to, there's only like 2 others after that, so I'm going to try to read them as well. Styles, thank God you're still there. Listen, I don't know what the hell to do. We've got another one. What? Another one? Another one of them. Max swallowed hard, her eyes locked with her sister's, ever-weakening gaze as she spoke on the phone. I think he sent her. She tried for Morgan. Lou was here, they struggled, and she wound up going out the window. He didn't mean to push her, it just happened. She damn near took Lou with her. She was injured. Yeah, pretty badly, but by the looks of it, I don't know she was unconscious. We tied her up, but I'm not sure how long we can hold her. If she comes around, where is she now? Lou took her up to the house. He figured he couldn't very well hold her here where someone might see. He's going to lock her up there or something. Told me to tell you he'd wait for you by the cliffs. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Styles rang off. Nodding her head slowly, Max pocketed the phone and sat down beside her sister, stroking her hair. Morgan's eyes were mere slits. Just a little longer, babe. Hang on, okay? A nod so slight her head barely moved. Then the door opened and Dr. Hillman walked in. Maxine, you wanted to see me? Yes, she said. She got to her feet to face him, lifting her chin, squared her shoulders. I want to take Morgan home. Impossible, he said it quickly, without even thinking about it first. Let's just drop the bull from the beginning. We both know it's possible. Maybe not advisable, but possible. Shaking his head slowly, the doctor said, She may not survive the trip, Maxine. Come on, Doc. Do you even expect her to survive the night? Licking his lips, he lowered his head. Frankly, no. Then what's the difference? She wants to die at home, in her own bed, in the house she loves. There's nothing you can do for her here except maybe prolong her life by a few extra hours. But you can do something for her. You can grant her last wish. I'll take full responsibility. He lowered his head, pressing his lips together. If you say no, I'll take her anyway. Max added, with a sigh. The doctor moved past her, bent close to Morgan, touched her face. Is this what you want, Morgan? You want to go home, even though you might last a little bit longer here? She managed to nod, even pull her lips into a ghost of a smile. The doctor straightening and inhaling deeply. All right, I'll get the paperwork. Time is a factor here. I'll be quick. He was amazingly so. 10 minutes later, Max was signing beside the X and wheeling her blanket-wrapped sister out to the waiting room. A short while later, they were pulling into the driveway. Morgan sighed her relief audibly at the sight of the old house again. God, it really did mean the world to her. Max studied Morgan's face for a long moment. She didn't look the way she had looked only days earlier. Her face was sunken, deep purple wells had appeared beneath her eyes, and her cheeks were concave. Her lips were pinched and chapped. She looked like an old woman. Max paid the driver, got out of the cab, went around to open her sister's door, and hugged her gently. David came out of the house, and when Max moved aside, he scooped Morgan up and carried her easily into the house. Up the stairs, and moments later was tucking her into her bed. Max stopped off in the study to take one of the smaller charcoal drawings of Dante from the wall. She carried it upstairs with her. When she got to the bedroom, she placed it on her sister's hands and saw just a hint of a former light flash in the dying woman's eyes. Hold on, Morgan, if you feel yourself slipping. Look at Dante's face and know he's coming for you. I'm going to bring him to you myself, I promise. A slight nod, a breath of relief, a single whispered word, hurry. Max glanced at Lydia and at David. Stay with her. You know we will. Be careful, Max, Lydia said, and gave her a quick hug. Max hugged her back and whispered in her ear, tell her it might be your last chance. Serafina lay on her side on the cool, damp ground above the cliffs. Her hands were cuffed behind her back, her ankles bound together with duct tape. She lay still, motionless, eyes closed, hair in disarray. She rubbed clumps of soil over her dress and her arms, smudged a bit on her face, hoping it look more convincing in the darkness. Lou blinked a hint of admiration for the woman. Brave, then again, she had reason to be. She was stronger than 10 ordinary men. Still, this was a risk. She must care a great deal about Dante. So I'm still not clear about your relationship with Dante, Lou said softly. He stood beside her prone form on the cliffs, watching the night, listening for Styles to arrive. You said you were his mother, sister, and aunt. Just how the hell does that work? She opened her eyes, looking up at him without moving her head. Sister, because all vampires are siblings. We come from a common source. We share the same blood, the same antigen that makes us unique. Mother, because I am the one who changed him from dying mortal man to powerful immortal creature. I birthed him into this life. Lou nodded slowly. And aunt? The usual way. Great aunt, if you want to get technical. I was his great-grandmother's sister. He nodded again. So you've changed him because... Hush, they're coming. She closed her eyes again. He'll know the cuffs alone won't hold me mortal. He'll try to drug me as he did Dante. We can't let him. Lou strained his eyes and ears, but didn't see or hear a thing. Then again, her senses were supposedly working at some elevated level. Just how elevated he could only guess. He didn't quite question their accuracy. Hell, after that jump from the third-story hospital window, he figured there wasn't much he couldn't do. Eventually, the sounds of footfalls in the grass reached his substandard ears, and he focused in that direction. Styles shaped emerged from the darkness. He was wary looking, closely moving, slowly. He approached the fallen Seraphina the way Lou figured he would approach a sleeping tiger. She's unconscious, Lou reassured him. She was hurt pretty badly in the fall. That's what the redhead told me on the phone, Styles said. He drew a syringe from his pocket, held it upright, and checked its contents, and then took another halting step forward, and another. He started to reach for her, then drew back. Oh, for Pete's sake, will you do it already, Lou asked. Styles finally moved closer, dropped down on one knee, brought the syringe towards Seraphina's arm. She flung her head up suddenly, slamming Styles in the chest, knocking him off her and the syringe to the ground. Lou threw himself at her, and they struggled for a moment, and Lou picked up the syringe and quickly squeezed its contents into the ground, hiding his actions from the other man. There, daggone it, Lou growled. Seraphina went limp, let her head fall to the ground, closed her eyes. Lou got up, disentangled his limbs from hers. Brushing himself off, he handed Styles the empty syringe. Styles eyed it, then him. Thanks, he said. Bitch tried to kill me, Lou said. That's twice in one night. You were right about them, Styles. Styles nodded. She won't try again. He dropped the syringe to the ground, bent and scooped Seraphina up into his arms. Remember, Styles said as he turned to trudge back toward the house, you tell no one. This is over. You and everyone else involved just need to forget all about it, understood? I won't forget, Lou said, but I'll keep it to myself. He forced a smile. Hell, who would believe me anyway? Exactly. Lou walked with Styles around the house to where the man's car waited. He winced when the bastard tossed the woman into the trunk. She landed hard, and then he slammed it closed. Styles said, You won't be seeing me again. No offense, Styles, but I sure hope you're right. Lou waved him off as Styles got behind the wheel and drove away. As soon as the tail lights vanished around a curve in the road, Max pulled up in Lou's car, flung open the passenger door, and Lou jumped in. It's been so long, Lydia said, pacing the bedroom. An hour later. Why haven't they come back by now? God, it will be dawn soon. David put a hand on her shoulder. Try to have faith, Lyd. It's going to be okay. It has to be. She smiled at him in a way that told Morgan there was something between them, something they'd kept from her. Max was right, Dave said softly. You tell her. Lydia held his eyes for a long moment before turning to Morgan. Sniffling, she came to sit on the edge of the bed, clasped Morgan's hand. Lydia felt strong and warm through it. Lydia felt strong and warm around it. Looking Morgan in the eyes, she said, "Morgan, I'm the woman who gave birth to you and Max. I'm your mother." "Mother?" Morgan whispered the word. She wasn't entirely shocked by the news. She wondered why Lydia seemed so connected to Max, why she seemed to care so much about her when they'd only just met. She caught the woman crying over her in the hospital, and knowing she was adopted, it hadn't been much a wide leap. "I gave you both up for adoption because I thought you would be better off. I wanted you to have a good life, but I was told you were both going to the same family. It was a decade before I knew you'd been separated." Sighing, Morgan nodded with her eyes. She was too weak to move her head. Then she slid her gaze to David. "Father?" she asked it, despite the effort it cost. "No," David said, "though we thought for a time I might have been." He came closer too, sat down on the bed. "I was one of Lydia's clients, young, wealthy. I always liked her. When she told me she was pregnant, I agreed to be attested. And when I learned you weren't my children, I walked away. It was a mistake, Morgan. It haunted me. I looked Lydia up again a year later. She told me you'd been adopted, though she didn't know the details, except that you were happy. So I hired an investigator to find you. Maxine was fine in a loving, healthy family, but you—" He shook his head. "I didn't like the people who'd adopted you, and I didn't know how the hell to undo what had already been done. So I moved to the West Coast and became your adoptive father's best friend. And it was the only way I could stay close to you, watch over you, and I was compelled to do that. I didn't contact Lydia again to tell her because I knew it would kill her if she realized she'd handed you over to people like that." He leaned down to kiss her cheeks. "I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry I never told you the truth." She closed her eyes. "Love you." When he sat up, he had tears in his eyes. Morgan wanted to tell them both that it was okay, that she didn't hold anything against either of them, but she couldn't. The damned weakness was robbing her of the ability to do much of anything. She was existing from one breath to the next, more uncertain with each one she drew whether she would have the strength to draw another, but she tried to tell them with her eyes, and that was the best she could do. "What's taking them so long?" David asked. Max stopped the car when she saw that Styles had slowed down. She'd been driving without headlights in pitch darkness, guided only by the distant red glow of his taillights. It was risky at best, stupid at worst, but it was for her sister. She couldn't believe how badly she had managed to screw up. She had to make it right. She put the car in reverse, saw no traffic behind her, and backed up with nothing more than her own reverse lights to guide her. When she was out of sight of Sal's car, she put the headlights on and found a place off the roadside to park. Then she shut the car off and turned to Lou. "This is it. Not for you, it's not. You take the car and go. Get some backup here. I don't care what you have to say. Just get some cops to head this way. I'm going in alone." "The hell you are." She whipped out her cell phone, dialed 911. Then she frowned at the thing when nothing happened. "Damn it, we're out of range. Like I said, you go for help. Even if I did, and help came running, they wouldn't get here in time. We have to do this now, Lou, you and me, with maybe a little help from the mostly dead duo in there, if we're lucky and they're in good shape. And they're in a good mood." She left the keys in the ignition, got out of the car, not even waiting for Lou to reply, and started trudging forward. He caught up to her in short order. "You could get hurt, Max. I couldn't live with that. My sister's dying, Lou. I caused it. I have to do this. If I don't, and she doesn't make it, how the hell do you think I'm going to live with myself?" He swallowed hard, staring at her in the darkness. "Damn it, you're so freaking stubborn." "Yeah, and you love it. Here." He slapped a gun into her hand, small, his handgun. "What about you?" He lifted his opposite arm, and she saw for the first time in the dark outline of the shotgun he carried. "I figured it was time to break out the big guns. Good thinking. They strode side by side along the road until they could make out the shape of Styles' car in the overgrown dark driveway of a falling down house. It looked abandoned, but there was light coming from inside. Do you think Seraphina is still in the trunk? Max whispered. He'd be an idiot to leave her there. They moved in closer to the house, leaving the car for now. If Seraphina were in the trunk, she could probably get out, Max thought, and there was no sense wasting time or tipping off the enemy by rattling around trying to open a locked trunk. She assumed Lou agreed, and when he passed by the car without stopping. They were approaching the rotten-looking front steps when Max felt a gun barrel in her spine. Move and she dies, a man said. She jerked her gaze sideways and saw Lou looking at her, a horrified expression on his face. Okay, easy, he said. We're friends. Drop the shotgun. Lou bent at the knees, laying the gun on the ground and straightening again. You too, hun, the man said. I don't have a gun to drop, she said. You want to loan me yours? Fine, I'll get it myself, the man said, and he started patting her down, apparently certain she carried her gun taped to her crotch. Judging by the amount of time he spent groping the area, he finally located the gun Lou had given her, took it, and then nudged her forward. Get inside, both of you. Lou and Max walked forward into the dilapidated house. Its door hung crookedly from one hinge. Max blinked in the white light of a gas lantern as she prodded into a room where Styles and two other men sat at a table. Well, what have we here? Styles asked, rising. Through a door to the left, Max could see Dante strapped to a table and Seraphina strapped to another. She was pretended not to notice them. Impressive, she said, addressing Styles, and said, so this is the new DPI headquarters. Talk about high tech. This is a temporary holding area, Styles said. So do you want to die now, or would you prefer to tell me what the hell are you doing here first? Lou interrupted her before she could zing Styles with a sarcastic reply. I followed you. I knew it. Hey, if you knew it, why did you leave? What are you talking about? Lou licked his lips. After you left, I picked up that syringe and saw that there was still some of that drug left in it. I was worried she might not be out after all and jumped in the car to come to warn you. Styles lifted his brows, nodding as Lou spun his lies. He whistled long and low when Lou had finished. And here I thought this was all a setup so you can get Dante out of here. So tell me, Lou, where did you leave your car? I didn't hear it pull into the driveway. Ran out of gas, Lou said, just a little ways back. Right, Styles looked at the man behind Max. Take them out back and shoot them. Max shot her eyes to Lou. He stared back at her, and she saw that he was afraid. For her, not for himself. Then the other man grabbed him and shoved him out of the house. She was being shoved right along behind him. They marched the two of them around to the back of the house, shoving her forward until she and Lou stood side by side, their backs to the man. Get on your knees. I'll die standing, thanks, Max said. Have it your way. The gun barrel moved from the small of her back to the base of her skull. Lou moved suddenly, ducked low, and jammed the man behind him with an elbow. Then he turned and threw himself at the one with the gun to Max's head. The gun went off, deafening her, but she didn't feel pain, and reasoned that the shot had missed. She found herself on the ground, probably the shock of that gun shot next to her ear, but she got up as she saw one of the goons scrambling for his drop gun. She went for it, too. He got it first and leveled it at her. Lou was grappling with the other, both of them rolling around in the weeds. Max held up a hand indecisively, and the gun aimed right at her chest went off. As it did, a dark form lunged between her and the shooter, all like a black streak. Another shot from behind her. Lou had won the fight for the other gun and shot her would-be assailant in the chest. The man went down in a heap. Behind Lou, his partner lay bleeding and unconscious. She heard a car tire squealing. Styles and the one remaining thugs getting away, no doubt, but she was too horrified to go after him. Dante, her sister's only hope, The man who had just taken a bullet for her lay on the ground, bleeding, gasping, clutching his chest. "Oh God," she whispered. "Just stanch it." He grounded out the words through clenched teeth. "Just get it stopped before I lose too much." Nodding, she tore strips from her blouse, balled it up, pressed it to the wound. He held it there. Dante caught his breath. "Now get me to Morgan. Lou, get the car," she said. Lou ran into the darkness to comply. Serafina came out of the house, looking at Max, at Dante in her arms. The handcuffs were still on her wrist, dangling like bracelets. Their chains snapped in two. "If you try to transform her tonight, it won't take," Serafina said coldly. "You don't know that. She's too far gone, and now you're wounded, not at full power. I'll make it work. It could kill you, then I'll die." Serafina lowered her head, closed her eyes. The car came screeching back. Serafina went around the house to meet it, and Max wondered why. When she returned, Lou was at her side, and she held the roll of duct tape he'd used to bind her ankles. She tossed it to Max. "Cram more padding into the wound, all you can fit. Then wrap him tight in this tape, all the way around his chest, tight as you can make it." Max didn't question her. She nodded her compliance, tore more fabric from her blouse, and did exactly as Serafina instructed her. When he was bound up tight, Serafina said, "Now step away." Max eased Dante's head to the ground, and Serafina knelt beside him. "You have made your choice, Dante, between me and this mortal woman you crave. You've chosen her. Why must I choose at all? Will you come with me now? Leave her behind?" He grimaced in pain. "I can't do that." "Then you've chosen her." She brought her arm to her lips, bit a gash in her wrist, and pressed it to his mouth. Dante clutched her hand and drank as Serafina went on. "This is the last time I will ever help you, Dante. You will never have the chance to betray me again." She jerked her wrist away, grabbed a strip of cloth Max had left on the ground, and twisted it around the wound, using her teeth and one hand to knot it tight. "I haven't betrayed you, Serafina. Wait." Without another word or a backward glance, she walked away into the night, skirts dancing in the wind, bracelets and bangles jangling like bells. Dante closed his eyes, aching. Max thought, "Come on, Lou, let's get him into the car. We have to get him back to Morgan." Lou glanced at the sky as they hoisted Dante between them. "It'll be dawn soon. She won't last another day. It has to be now, if we're not already too late." She searched Dante's face. Was she telling the truth about that? That it might not even work? "If she's too far near death, and if I am too weak." Dante sighed, and shook off their supporting arms, walking the rest of the way to the car unsteadily, but under his own power. He got into the back seat. Lou and Max got in the front. "It'll work," Dante said as Lou started the car, backed out of the driveway. "It has to." Lou put the car in drive and stomped on the accelerator to the floor. That was the end of that chapter, and I'm sorry if my voice is kind of low. I don't know what it is. I think my voice is about ready to go or something. I hope not, because that would kill me. So, bye.